Hello, everybody, and welcome to our 8th Lift Up live broadcast. Can't believe we're back for our 8th live event, which is obviously kick-started from September last year. So, for those of you that are completely new to joining the Lift Up community, Lift Up's mission statement is all about connecting, championing, and inspiring women right across the life sciences industry, all the way through from academia to C-suite. So we've been really, really proud. The ambassadors here within Fraser Dove have done a phenomenal job leveraging off their relationships within the industry to connect and champion and bring together this community group. So today we have got some phenomenal key speakers that are joining Rosey and I. That is Karen Mullen and Ola Adel. So before we bring them into this live broadcast, we're obviously going to ask you as an audience to get engaged, share where you're coming from. Rosey and I are going to do a very quick introduction as well into ourselves. So I'm Louise Williams. I'm the operations director here at Fraser Dove International. I've been with the business for coming up to 2 years. I've been in staffing for about 18 years now, and life sciences for around 9 years, where I was focused at being a clinical and medical recruiter before moving into management and leadership roles. So I'm going to pass this over to Rosey now, to my co-host, to do a little introduction to herself. Over to you, Rosey.
Thank you, Louise, and welcome everybody. I'm really pleased to be here again. It feels like they come round so quick.
I know.
Quick intro from my side. Been at Fraser Dove for over 2.5 years, specialised in technical operations recruitment. Have obviously seen the gap in gender in the workplace, but also before Fraser Dove was at Boston Scientific in medical devices. I worked in interventional oncology and had the absolute pleasure of having some amazing female leaders and mentors that really I would like to be able to give that benefit to everyone else. So that's my
Yeah.
reasons for being part of the platform or the community. But it's great to see people joining today. I can see we've got Sean here. She's saying, hello, everyone. Happy to connect. Now, as you can see, we can pull your comments up on screen. So what we're going to be doing today is in the live Q&A, bringing your questions up. But in order for us to be able to see them, please ensure you put a Q at the start of your question, because it can help us navigate what can be quite a lot of different questions. There's some more people coming in. We've got Samantha Taylor coming in. She's saying, hi, everyone, keen to connect. Please let us know where you're coming from today. We're tuned in
Yeah.
from London. I know we've got some guests that are tuned in from Basel, and it'd be great to know, where you are in the world and what you do as well.
Mm-hmm.
Got some more coming in
Yeah.
here.
Thank you, Rosey.
Sandrine and Karen. Karen, great to have you here. You're excited. I mean, we're excited too. It's brilliant to have everyone here. But yeah, I think as we everyone
Yeah,
joins, I
the
think it'd be
audience is
great to get
getting
the guests
engaged.
in.
Yeah, no, it's brilliant. Thank you very much. I mean, I think from previous events, anywhere from 400 to 800 attendees, we've been getting month on month, and we've had people all over the globe dialing in. So yes, as Rosey has very, very kindly said, get involved. Let us know where you're dialing in from. Hi, James. He's back in our Farnham HQs, joining us today. We've got Samantha Taylor. Lovely to connect with you. We've got Martina. Looking forward to the conversations from Poland. Thank you very much. Lebet, I think Lebet's actually joined us previously on a live event, so it's great to have you back. We've got a man from Watford, and we've got Katie from Philadelphia. So yeah, just a handful, but please keep all of the comments coming. And what we're going to do is we're going to bring in our key speakers. So I'm going to kick off with Karen Mullen, somebody I know in the UK for quite a few years now. I'm going to bring her in to do an introduction. Hello, Karen. Lovely to have
Hi,
you here.
Louise. Thank you. I'm absolutely thrilled to be here. It's a real honour to be asked to come and do a live Q&A. So a little bit about my background. I'm a doctor. I trained in London and practiced in London for a few years before moving into the pharma industry. And that was over 20 years ago. I joined Eli Lilly, worked there for 5 years in clinical research and medical affairs, then moved to GSK and worked in various different roles of seniority and managing larger teams, having a real breadth of experience across many different therapy areas, from metabolic through to vaccines. Managing a lot of change as well in a big organization is the inevitable that happens. I was there for 7 years and then became an independent consultant with a broad range of clients, from early clinical development, small biotech, cell and gene therapy, through to large pharma working in medical affairs and launching many interesting drugs along the way. Then after 5 years, I moved back to GSK as the country medical director, which was quite a big leadership role with multiple stakeholders. The organization was going through a lot of change, and obviously we had COVID and lockdown, so managing a large team as we all went to remote learning, as we were also trying to set up clinical trials to treat COVID and manage COVID. So I did that for 4 years, and then last April I had the opportunity to move to a drug development consultancy based here in the UK, but we work with a number of global clients in cell and gene therapy and advanced therapies. So that's kind of my career in a nutshell. I've lived in the UK and lived in Australia and on the East Coast of the US. I've got 3 children. They're all teenagers. So I've had 3 maternity leaves during that career and brought up children. And I just feel very lucky that I've had a great career and worked with a number of really inspiring and fantastic people along the way.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that, Karen. It's really insightful, not only from a professional, but from a personal perspective as well. And I think that you've obviously got a lot of insights, a lot of advice as well that perhaps you can share throughout this live broadcast to the audience. So thank you for joining us. It's a pleasure to have you here. And we're going to bring in Ola. Ola, dialing in from
Louise.
Basel, Switzerland. Yeah, thank you so much for joining us today. Would you do the honor of introducing yourself to the audience?
Yes, with pleasure. So first of all, thank you for inviting me for this live session. It's really a pleasure and honor from my side as well. I'm a pharmacist by education, and I'm coming with more than 20 years in pharmaceutical industry, mostly experienced in quality operation, quality controlling as well. So covering the manufacturing part in the pharmaceutical industry and the quality oversight. I'm a mother of my 13 and my son is 14. So this is the background. Happy to be with you here.
Oh, thank
Amazing.
you. Thank you, Ola. I
Yeah,
do. Sorry, Rosie, you go.
I was just going to say, it seems like the international connection is
Yeah,
having a
good old
little bit of a
internet.
delay on the internet, but that's absolutely fine. We heard there, at Novartis now leading a site, been there for
Mhm.
19 years, I believe, and obviously a mother of 2 teenagers, which I can really imagine. Well, actually, I can't imagine, but I've
That's another
heard,
job.
it's pretty intense. So thanks
Yeah.
for joining us.
Yes.
Appreciate it. We've
Thank
had
you, Ola.
actually a few more people join. So I
Hmm.
just want to say hi to them.
Quite a
We've got
few.
Deborah here from Cambridge. Welcome, Deborah. We're looking forward to this discussion. We've also got Eman from Watford. Great to connect. Brianna coming in from Baltimore in Maryland. Please do use the page to connect. And also, of course, hi, Linda. It says, hi, Karen. Good to see you this afternoon. So it must be someone you know there as well. But yeah.
Yeah, so let's kick off with some questions. So we're going to go into an interactive Q&A, live Q&A as well with everybody. So that'll be really interesting throughout this broadcast. But just before we move into that, a couple of quick questions. So Karen, I'll come to you first. Do you want to share with the audience, I guess, why it is that you agreed to join the Lift Up community today? Why it was important for you to be a part of the group?
Yes, sure. So I did see Lift Up on LinkedIn, and I thought, oh, this is interesting. I'd quite like to join the party here. And I dialed into a number of your live broadcasts and listened to some of the recordings. And actually, I was so impressed. I found it really helpful. I found it really high energy and very positive. And I think that's just so important to have those types of communities, especially for women at all different stages of their career, men also, and having a network, a global network, is so important in your career, and especially now with our kind of hybrid working. And I know there's been a question here about remote working. because we're not necessarily as connected as we used to be, you know, within the office, seeing people on a daily basis and having mentors, and, you know, learning from each other in that way. So, you know, these types of networks, I think are really, really important. And I'm really pleased to be able to be part of it.
Yeah, thank you, Karen. I think it's really important to touch upon that, because from the remote working perspective, I don't think we're ever going to probably go back into a workplace world, pre-COVID, where everybody's going to be working full time, in the office all the time, obviously subject to the jobs in which people hold. But generally speaking, that work-life blend and that ability to work remotely is going to be still, I think, a big change in the communities moving forward. So how it is that we create those solutions and we adapt as a business and as leaders, and have that kind of agile mindset, and working out a solution that's going to be the most positive for individuals in the business to connect and to work cohesively together and communicate well, even when there is that remote working, is really important. So really excited about hearing some of the initiatives or ideas that you've got around that, Karen. But Ola, asking you the same question. So why did you agree to become part of the Lift Up community? What kind of attracted you to the group?
As Karen also mentioned, it's full of energy. It's very positive. I'm a woman, and it's a community that supports other women. And I believe this is our, let's say, value that we need to also give, to support each other and to help grow other women to build up to go through their journey, and to be there for questions, for answers, for coaching, mentoring, and sharing our experience.
Yeah,
Amazing.
thanks, Ola. I think both Ola as a site head of Novartis and Karen, obviously at XGSK, both, hundreds of, or tens and tens in some cases, a couple of hundred of matrix management leadership team employees. So it'd be really interesting to
Yeah.
see how that differentiates from going from leading small teams to quite large teams, and how that works. But
Yeah,
Rosey, we've got an
I
awful lot of
I was
people
gonna
jumping in
say,
here now, haven't we? So
yeah, it kind of leads on to a question that's actually just come in that we were definitely wanting to talk about today. So thank you, Chloe, for asking this question. But that kind of leads on really nicely about what have been your core values and beliefs around driving a high performing team. I'm going to come to you first, Karen. You've led matrix teams where you have to lead through influence. You've also led larger teams where you have direct leadership. So talk to us about that question.
Yeah, I mean, in any team, it's important that you've got an aligned purpose, that everybody knows what they're driving towards, and everybody knows what it is that they're going to achieve. And as you have to have clear expectations, know who's accountable for what. But I think in terms of high performing, for me, it's about creating an environment of high support and high challenge. And I've seen lots of teams that are very good at giving the high support, but are not very good at challenging each other. And as a leader, you need to be able to create that environment where people feel safe. They don't feel that they're going to be judged by, or that they're being criticized, but it's done with the right intent. And that's because you're all aligned to achieve the same thing. So for me, it's that high support, high challenge. And to take that a little bit further around challenge, is you need diversity within that team to be able to challenge. And that's the diversity in thinking. People that have got a different way of addressing a problem, they approach data or solutions in a different way to be able to say, well, have you thought about this? Have you thought about that? Are we along the right track? Being curious. So for me, that's the real definition of a high performing team. When you see that happen, it's magic.
I think I completely resonate with that. And actually, as a business that Rosey and I are obviously in, we've talked a lot about embracing vulnerability. You might have seen a LinkedIn post that I've done very recently on that. But 3-4 weeks ago, very similarly to this, the challenges, and giving people the platform to feel like they can talk about what those challenges are. So creation of solutions and conversations around maybe a best forward approach based on a challenging situation, because like you said, everybody has slightly different ways of dealing with things, is an important culture, I think, to harness, so people aren't always constantly driven on success, because sometimes, through failure comes success, doesn't it? And you learn a lot from
Absolutely.
sometimes
Yeah.
the mistakes in which you make. So thank you for that, Karen, really insightful. Same question to you, Ola. What are kind of your core values and beliefs around driving a high performing team?
I would say being authentic
Authentic, yeah.
and engaging the team. So, do you still hear me?
Yep.
I was a bit disconnected.
Yes, it
Can you
might
hear me
just be
now?
best. Yeah, if you
It
keep
can.
going,
Can you hear
we
me
can
I,
now?
kind of pick up.
Ah,
Yeah.
yes. Yeah. So it's super. So I would say being authentic, building the trust and safe environment, engaging the teams in the objective settings, because once they feel that they are engaged, you have their buy-in towards the achieving, and there we
Hmm.
can have a successful outcome at the end.
yeah, so
Yeah,
true.
I
I think
completely agree.
engagement is so important. Um, Being engaged as
Yeah,
an employee by your leader, feeling like you're being heard, feeling like you're being challenged, all comes into wanting to do better and
Yeah.
succeeding. Something here from Katie in agreement with you both is change and challenge creates growth. So I really like that. Um,
Completely. We've got an awful lot of people dialing in, haven't we, Rosie? I just thought it might be worth just highlighting. Hello, Suresh, who's dialing in from India. We've got Rosie as well. I'm pretty sure, Rosie, as well, you've been a bit of a regular on some of
yeah.
our live broadcasts. So thank you very much for joining again. She said, great to see Ola again, which is lovely. I don't know whether Ola, you know Rosemary. We've got some great questions flying through. I would love to come
yeah,
back to
absolutely
actually,
happy to
Karen,
have it.
the mission one, because I think that's an important one that I might come back through to. But we've got some more questions coming through. Is there anything that's jumping out for you, Rosie, before?
Yeah, I think this one in here from
Mhm.
James is how important do you think emotional intelligence is to leadership?
Mm.
And then following that, do you think it can be taught or learned? I suppose it's like the nature or nurture piece. But
Yeah, this is a
um,
really interesting one, actually.
why don't we go to Ola first this time?
Yeah. So yeah. So being emotionally intelligent is very important, because I believe this is the way we are dealing with humans and not equipments. And when you have intelligence, you can also drive the passion within the team and know where the strengths is in the team, and where to, let's say, slow down when to push being having drive emotional intelligence, connect it in the right way, and when to, let's say, slow down, when to rush up, when to put the pressure, when to remove it. This balance is very important.
Hmm.
Yeah, we lost you slightly in the middle there, but I did hear that you're talking about we're working with people and not equipment, and that is really important. I think in a manufacturing environment, I talk to technical operations leaders every day, and it's all about deadlines. It's all about timelines, budgets. But at the end of the day, the manufacturing does not go on
Pressure
without
is
the
super
people.
high. Exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and you got to care about them as human beings. I'm. What about you, Karen? I'll hand that question forwards to
Yeah,
you.
I think this is a great question, and people that are far more qualified than me have written many books about this. You've got to be able to connect. You have to be able to connect with people because you have to enable them to do their best and be their best. So you have to have some level of understanding about a whole broad range of people, and not just about their them on a work level, but also on a personal level. But I would hate to then say that actually, if you don't have emotional intelligence, because I think it probably is difficult to learn that, it's a skill that some people are more adept at than others, then you can't be a leader. Because I do believe, and I've spoken to many managers about this over the years, that not everybody is the full package as a leader. And actually, we all have blind spots. And the best thing that you can do as a leader is actually surround yourself by people that are going to help you see those blind spots, and that are going to actually have the qualities that you don't have. So you don't want to surround yourself by people that are always going to tell you that you're right, are always going to tell you what you want to hear. You need to surround yourself by people that are going to challenge your thinking, and actually help you to do the things that you might not have the skills, or that might not be your superpower. So yeah, that's what I'd say about emotional intelligence.
Yeah, I think that's absolutely spot on, Karen. I think empathy and being compassionate is a great superpower or skill to have, or a natural kind of ability or value or core value to have. But I do think that you hit something really important there when you were talking about the qualities. You don't necessarily, as an individual, whether you're a leader or not, have to be perfect in everything. You don't have to have every skill set or every quality, but if you're surrounding yourself and you're a part of a leadership group or a management team, or even just a team, whether it's in a therapeutic area in a business or whatever it might well be, you don't always have to have the answers to everything. If you're actually learning, or you've got other people around you that can fill in sometimes those gaps, that actually harnessed as a team, you as a team could be a real big superpower, if that makes sense.
Yeah. And I think
So
that adds
yeah.
to empowering your experts to be experts at what they do. Otherwise,
Yes.
you can't have a site head that's head of quality, head of engineering, head of manufacturing, and head
Yeah.
of everything else. There's a reason they have a senior leadership team, right? And
Yeah.
that's to fill in the gaps. And that can also come from their soft skills,
Yes.
in
Yeah.
hiring different personalities. But yeah, I was just going to say, Rosey's made a nice comment there about the emotional intelligence piece. She's saying it can be learned. It's a
Yeah.
skill.
Yes. Yeah,
But
we've had some great, and I think Sandra's come in here with something as well. Sandra, she was one of our key speakers, I think, early on in our live broadcast last year. Thanks for joining us, Sandra. So success is 99% failure and 1% inspiration and motivation. That's a quote and a half, isn't it, Sandra? Thank you for sharing that.
it
But there is
is.
always so much to be learned along the journey, isn't there?
I
So we
wanted
got,
to
yep,
I wanted to ask the audience, you know, if they could share what they believe is a core leadership quality, and maybe we can discuss some of those as they come through. So, audience, please
yes,
comment. Tell us what maybe a leadership quality is that you like, maybe one that you found hard to deal with. But let's share on that. And while we're doing
yeah,
so, I think it'd be really interesting to touch back on some of the questions that
yes.
we were
I
talking
think
about before, Louise.
yeah, we've got a good one here. Exactly. We've got one from Ahmed as well that's come through. Do you think leadership is more built in or acquired? Knowing that, I think it is always a mix of both. Thank you, Ahmed, for your question. Karen, what are your thoughts around his question?
Yeah, I think everybody has leadership potential.
Yeah.
And I don't think you necessarily have to manage people to be a leader. I think that it is about being authentic. What does authentic mean? It means about being yourself. People want you. They don't want somebody that you're trying or pretending to be. Showing empathy, showing vulnerability, having that clear vision, being able to communicate that vision. And then actually, inspiring and empowering people to be their best and do their best. And I think everybody has the ability to do that on many different levels. The question is, do you want it? And do you want to, step up and take it? Because you take a risk as being a leader.
Yes.
And, I see in medical departments across Big Pharma, over 50% of them are made up of females that are working within the medical department. But then when you look across the leadership of those departments, I think women are quite underrepresented as leaders. And, where is that gap falling off? Why are women then not being able to step up and be those leaders? And we really need to support and help that. Yes, there's life choices that people make. Yes, there's setting up the right and work conditions options for them to be able to have, you know, whatever that needs to be in terms of flexibility. But actually women have a lot of those really important qualities that good leaders need around empathy, vulnerability, showing vulnerability, and being authentic. So that was kind of a long-winded question to
No,
No.
I completely agree. And we ran, you know, a really good live broadcast a couple of well, it might have been 2 months ago now. I think it was, Rosey,
Yeah.
with Heather and Julie, and you know that was all around the women's superpowers in a workplace. And I think it's not just about women, right? Because men have got some amazing superpowers too. But actually, that diversity in group means that you know you're getting that real balance of superpowers across both genders, which is really important. So I love that. We've got some great comments coming through. Sandra, hi you guys, love your events, love that. Jason's come through. Jason Forward, thank you very much for joining us today. He's popped in here, empathy. We've got Samantha, who's got growth mindset, transparency, and communication. So thank you for sharing. Keep those comments coming through in regards to what your traits, what you feel the big important common traits are. We've got some more questions though, haven't we, Rosey? Keep coming through. Great one from Andrew here, actually.
Another question I want to build on.
Of course. Go for it, Ola.
Yeah,
Sometimes
so
there's a little bit
I
of a
would
delay,
also
but don't
add on
worry.
what Karen has mentioned.
Yes.
Yes, I just recognized that. So I would say to deeply listen to the needs from the team as well, and
Mhm.
to develop with them their action plan, understand their needs. Deeply listening to them and implementing theirs is also important in a leader, that they feel that the leader is really working to support them and not just to achieve the objective of him or herself.
Yeah, bringing that human element into it is really, really important, isn't it? Understanding your team,
Exactly.
understanding what
Yeah.
motivates them, making sure that they're not feeling like it's a siloed mission, but it's a group vision and mission that everybody is on. Completely agree. Thanks for sharing that. Thanks for sharing that, Ola. I was
I think
just
we were gonna bring up Andrew's question, weren't we, Louise?
yeah, it was a good
And
one.
Ola, we'll come to you first on this one. Is how can we encourage leaders to light the fire within people opposed to lighting it under people?
Mm,
So
that's a good one.
Ola, I'll let you go first.
It's a very good question. It's an amazing question, I have to say. It's the passion, huh? The passion is really to make the people have the passion and really drive that. Passion as well is something that needs to be built in a leader. So with achieving even small milestones, it's really good to recognize the right achievements, huh? And there you can have
Yeah.
their always engagement and their inspiration, continue delivering, and not put them just under the pressure that they have a big milestone that they need to achieve, and it's not gonna be achieved, but really celebrate.
Yeah, I think we just caught most of that actually.
We did.
And I was just going to say we talk about this all the time, and it's so important to enjoy the journey and not just be based on that end result. And I think that's kind of what you were touching on there, Ola, with engaging the people, celebrating the little wins. You know,
Passion.
there's a lot of what goes into creating a drug and getting it through the life cycle, and there's lots of different aspects that create that,
Mhm.
and people and teams. And if we don't celebrate every win, the end result is just getting it to the patient, which of course is so
Yes.
important, but so much goes into getting it there.
Yes. Agree.
Karen, love to hear your thoughts on this one.
Yeah, I mean, I think that Ola's absolutely spot on. It's looking at the broader picture and not just looking at, deadlines and milestones. But it's also understanding what motivates people, because people are different and different things make different people tick. And it's knowing your team, and knowing their why, knowing how they're connected to the purpose, which in science is it's easier than and many others, because actually, you know, we've got a clear purpose about, you know, cutting edge technology, innovation, and helping people. And if people are aligned to that purpose, then you tend to see that they are motivated to do that. But it's understanding what motivates them in terms of recognition, in terms of being rewarded, and helping them to do that along the way. You know, it's like the carrot rather than the stick. I think is
completely. Yeah, I completely agree with you, Karen. I think everything Ola said completely resonated with me. But like you said, it's ultimately it's the motivation, isn't it? What's going to motivate your team members? Understanding their goals, their personal vision or mission, and then tying that into the business's one or the team's one.
Yeah.
Because you know you don't really want to be pushing people up a hill, right? That's not what that's not the
Yeah.
outcome or the situation you want to be in. It's about supporting, encouraging, guiding, and working with those individuals, isn't it?
Yeah.
To
And as a
reach their
leader, you need to model those values as well. You know, if you've got to understand and recognize that you are going to have some deadlines coming up, people are going to be under pressure. You have to create that environment, that mindset that they can do their best in within that framework. And
Yes.
you know, you have to roll your sleeves up and demonstrate, you know, that that you're doing that as well. I think that's really
Yes.
important.
Agree. And
What you've said
acknowledge.
there. Oh, I was just going
Yeah.
to say what you've said there. The audience are loving, Karen. Obviously, Rosie's come in with 100% inspiring from Linda. I think
Yeah.
it's so true. And
I
the bit I
know.
wanted to catch on that answer was understanding their why, and also getting your employees to understand their own why as well. I think
Yeah.
it's so important that we all know what drives us ourselves, so that we can kind of maybe sometimes when needed light that fire for ourselves
Yes.
when we're hitting
Yes.
maybe a roadblock, or maybe feeling a bit stagnant in the project that we're working on. It's hugely
Yes.
important. I want to jump onto another question, because
Hmm.
this one's just come in and it looks really good, and I know we are against time. But this is from Carla, and it's in regards to coaching and mentorship, which is obviously a huge part of being a leader of large groups. So did you have any mentors throughout your career? And or are you mentoring others to develop their leadership qualities? Ola, I think you've joined us back now. I'm going to try and send this question your way first, and see if we can get a good connection.
Yeah, so I can go first there. So yes, I had mentors, and I had also leader who supported me. So the mentors, it's because they can come from an independent perspective. They might not know the day-to-day activities, and they can make with you a self-reflection without just providing you solutions. And coaching here is also very crucial, that you questions that help the person to identify the solution themselves. And this is really important. So with having these coaching sessions and mentoring, it was always beneficial when you have something that you're struggling with, that you can come with a solution yourself, self-reflecting with one person that you trust, and can guide you on the way.
Yeah, that's amazing.
That's a great piece of advice, Ola. I think that as a leader and a manager, you know, or the answers all the time, because it's not always going to develop the individuals. Giving them the platform and asking the question as to, well, why is it that you've decided to do that, or what was the thought process behind that, or what do you think it is that you should do, and try to get them coming up with the solutions themselves. But like you've said, in your back pocket, you've kind of got an idea of what maybe some of the solutions could be. Is always, I think, quite a nice way of going about those conversations. But Karen, what are your thoughts in regards to Carla's question?
Yeah, I mean, I've probably had informal mentors, not really formal mentorship,
Yeah.
but I've found that very, very helpful, and you know, with some great inspiring people, and I have mentored people now, especially around being medical directors, because it can be quite a lonely place, actually being quite senior in a company and leading a team, and you're being pulled in multiple different directions with multiple stakeholders, and actually really helping people to think through you know, the decisions that they have to make and how they then communicate those decisions. So I think that it's so important.
Yeah. No, I think
And
that, yeah.
this is why this network's so important, to be able to help people find mentors. Coaching, I think, it needs to be done in the moment. There's no point in going to somebody at the end of the month and saying, like, these are the 10 things that I need to coach you about. It has to
Yeah.
be done, as Ola says, kind of coming up, helping people to make their own decisions, and looking at different options, and that can be really powerful then.
Yeah, completely agree. And that in kind of embracing vulnerability or giving people the platform where they feel like they can come to you with a challenge, to open up those forums of conversations, I think is really important as well. So thank you, Carla. That was a great
Yeah,
question.
great question. I've actually got another one here, which I really like as well. Please keep bring them in. Remember, cue at the beginning of your comment. Otherwise, sometimes they get lost in some of the other conversation. But let's go to this one from Georgia. Georgia is asking, should leaders celebrate failure in the team? And I really like this one. So Karen, we'll come your way first this time.
I love this question. Absolutely. We talk about success all the time, but I think one of the other comments was that, without failure, you don't tend to progress and get to that success. And for me, this is actually about risk taking. And what the behaviors that we need to encourage is that people are able to take risks in a calculated way, and learn from those risks and learn from those failures. So you already set out what a success is going to look like. If you know you're not going to hit that and you are failing, you fail fast, because you already have the data to know which way that's going to go in. And then you need to celebrate it, because you need to learn from it. Why did we fail? How are we going to do it differently next time? What do we need in place? So actually those failures are really important. And, people making mistakes, because everybody makes mistakes, and that's how we learn. And actually that needs to be part of, a whole team discussion. Right, what are we going to do differently? Why did we fail? So I think these things are absolutely critical, and we don't do, well, I haven't done enough about them in my team. I did in one team. I had we would celebrate successes at our weekly meeting, and then we would also put, right, okay, failures, let's talk about learning. What It was always empty, and we would always just breeze over it. We had it there because we thought it was good to try and prompt a conversation.
Yes, yeah.
But people don't like to talk about it, because they feel it's personal. They feel like they're a failure. So it's setting up that framework of, actually, it's not about blame, it's not about judgment, it's about a system, and what can we do to improve that going forward.
Yes, completely agree. And actually, I'm being really open. We're in our team, in an office location that I work within. We talked about addressing some of the successes at the end of every day as a group, and it was quite quickly turned around on its head and said, well, should we just purely be talking about successes? Because actually that's not embracing vulnerability, which is this topic that we've got as a theme within our business at the moment. So actually, should we be talking about successes and challenges, and really throwing that out there as the title? Because actually we want that freedom of speech as to, well, what are we failing on, or what's been difficult? But I love your term fail fast. I think you said, if I correct me if I've said that wrong, but I've not thought of it like that. But actually, if there is a calculative way in which you are, or a team member is approaching things, then having the thought process as to, well, what could go wrong, or what are the repercussions of me doing this, then maybe if it does fail, it fails fast, and then you've quickly got a solution to correct it. That's quite a nice way of looking at it. So thank you for sharing that, Karen. That was really good.
Ola, before we come to you, Katie's just added here, failure presented as an opportunity changes the approach drastically, which I totally agree with, and it's kind of an underlying on what we just discussed there. But Ola, I'd love to hear your thoughts on celebrating failure within your teams.
Oh, we might have lost her.
Yeah. No, so I was just saying that, as Katie just mentioned, a failure is an opportunity to learn and to continuously improve. Without failure, we will not improve in the future. And rather than celebration, the failure, I would say that we have the safe environment, that we accept the failure, understand why it happened, and focus more on how not to have another failure. So there is where we can grow as a team, and really avoid having failures in the future, because mistakes are normal. We are humans and we all do that. And we can also share learnings from mistakes that we had in the past as part of our sharing vulnerability as well with our teams.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and Deborah's just said here as well, it's about framing the talk, and I think that's what we're all touching on here, is framing the talk about failures so that lessons learned and how they can be applied to avoid failure in the future. But I
Yes.
really like
I
that.
Yeah, I do, Ola, and I
Fully
like the
agree.
accept failure instead of celebrate failure. I think the accept is quite a nice phrase actually. So thank you very much for sharing that. We've had some great people still dialing in with a lot of people. Accepting and acknowledging, and I guess resonating with all of your comments. Ola's put it here 100%. Ola, having coaching as a guide to expand your perspective, mentoring to share freely wisdom is invaluable. Thank you, Rosey, for touching upon that. So we've still got some great questions, I
Yeah.
guess, coming through. Is there anything out there that's driving or jumping out at you there, Rosey?
Yeah, there's obviously lots of response to your comments there. I think there was one actually that we may have missed. I'm just going to pull it back
I
as I
wanted.
drive through
If I
this.
could just comment while you're pulling that up as well, if you think, if you go back to high performing teams and what you want to foster in a leadership team is innovation and growth mindset, because actually they are the people that you want them to stretch the business and be taking the business forward. So it's really important for them to have that freedom to be able to take those risks, and then to, as Ola says, I like that, I'm going to use that now, accept that failure.
Yes.
Mm,
Yes. Yeah, I think that's a great term. Innovation, growth mindset, two really key phrases I'd say that we use a lot as well within our business. That
yeah,
growth mindset from the fixed mindset is really important. I think it was something about coming back to this mission statement, Rosie. I don't know whether that might have been the one, but I know Karen, you touched upon mission earlier on in this live broadcast. But when leading large teams, how do you create a culture of togetherness where individuals feel aligned to a common mission? It's quite different from going, from managing maybe a team of 3 or 4 people to matrix teams of 50 or 100 or 200. How has that differed throughout your career? Any kind of advice you've got in regards to that? I'll come to you, Karen. Sorry, I was just looking
I
at you
would
both
say
then.
clear communication. Okay.
oh,
Ola.
Sorry,
No,
go ahead, Ola.
yeah, go ahead, Ola.
Yeah, about clear expectation of the team. So when you have a team of 4 with 100, if you have clear communication and expectations about what you are expecting from their side, how to set their goals, way, you can then achieve this together. Also, one important point I would say to achieve a mission is always to suspend judgment and never underestimate a question or inquiry from one person or one that needs support. With this together, they can feel that they are always supported. They can ask. There's no stupid question. There is no one that knows better than the other. We are in a learning process together, and there the culture of togetherness can be achieved.
Yeah, lovely. A real kind of sense of unity I get from that. So yeah, that was really nice. Thanks, Ola. And Karen, what's your
Yeah,
kind of thoughts in response to that?
completely agree with Ola, and it's about having this aligned purpose that everybody is behind and everybody is part of. That's what connects people, and ensure that you are actively talking about that, communicating that, so people feel that they're part of it. You're rewarding and recognizing based on that. And as Ola says, that it's that communication. The difference between a large team and a smaller team is actually about communication, and that communication has to be two-way as well. So you have to have an opportunity where you are listening, you're actively listening to people.
Yeah,
yeah,
completely agree. Very
amazing.
much.
I am going to have, obviously, I'm going to have to say that we do have limited time left. So, a
Yeah.
question we always like to finish the broadcast on is about a piece of advice you've been given. But I want it
Yes.
to be slightly focused on the leadership pieces. That's what we're talking about today. So, throughout your journey, there's no doubt you've had leaders paved the way for your growth. I want to know, what's the best piece of leadership advice that you've ever been given, and I'd say let's try and keep the answer within 30 seconds each. So go on then. I'll go to Ola first.
I would say be positive and focus on strengths.
Amazing. And Karen, I'd love to hear from you as well.
Yeah, for me, it's been very simple. It's be present. Very simple, but very powerful. If you have a 10-15 minutes with somebody, actually don't be distracted. Give them your full attention. They will appreciate that you value their insight, you value their opinion, and it makes a really big difference. Difficult to do when you're going from meeting to meeting to meeting, because that that focus, and even in your, even with your children, your partner, your relatives, your family, that are just
Yes.
being present.
Yeah,
Amazing.
that's so important, isn't it? Whether it's personal or professional. And I really like that. And I think from a team member perspective, they value that in a leader, don't they? That will create that sense of followership as well. When they know that the time in which you're giving them, it's completely dedicated time and you've got the full engagement. So thank you, Karen. Thank you, Ola. We are at 45 minutes, which is unbelievable. That time has gone really, really fast.
Yeah.
So yeah, thank you so much. We've had so much engagement from the audience today, haven't we, Rosey? Which has been brilliant.
Yes. And I was going to say, before everyone goes, first of all, thank you for the questions. Thank you for the engagement. But one of my colleagues is going to post the community page within the comments feed. Go and join the membership group. We are really driving most of our content through there now. We're having discussions around these sort of topics with leaders on a weekly basis. And it's a great way to access this community completely free, no strings attached, just building your network wherever you are on your career path. But thank you so much to everyone for joining. The amazing guests that we've had today. The discussion was brilliant. Your
Yes.
answers and advice have been great. We'll obviously be going live again next month with details to come. But for now, thank you for being. Thanks for being present.
Yeah.
Thanks for
Thank
being
you for
here with
being
us.
present. What a lovely way to end it. No, absolutely. So, whether you're not a leader yet and you're
Thank
inspired
you.
to become a leader, or you're currently a leader, and there's a lot of inspiring words that both Karen and Ola have shared with you today that you can take away from this live broadcast. Thank you so much both for being our key speakers, and thank you to Rosey, my co-host, and thank you to everybody that's got engaged in the audience globally that's dialed in today. And for now, enjoy the rest of your day, and we'll see you in about a month's time. Take care. Bye-bye.
Thanks. Bye bye.
Bye.